Great, so we're back and my slides are operational. So before I start the evening tonight, I would like to acknowledge that UBC's Vancouver Point Grey campus is situated on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Musqueam people. We would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So for tonight, we are going to go through a quick PMBA overview, and then we're going to go into our MBA alumni discussion. So in the room today, we do have 4 members of the team. So myself, my colleague Natalie, who's also a manager of recruitment admissions, Donna Wood, who is the student experience manager of the PMBA program, and also Maria Harmer, who is the PMBA career coach. So they will be in the room tonight answering any questions that you might have. So if there's kind of specific career questions you want to pose to Maria, feel free to use the Q&A questions, or you can message her directly. And Natalie is also here to help answer any questions you have about the program or admissions and recruitment. And also you can pose questions about student experience or academia with Donna also in the Q&A chat. The panelists we have for tonight's panel event include Nadia Bobrova. She is an inventory manager at Best Buy, and she is a current PMBA student. We have Mercedes del Castillo, who is a senior analyst at Nielsen. And we have Tamara Isaak, who is the chief financial officer at United Way. And then also Martina Valkovicova, who is the Assistant Dean of the UBC Business Career Center. So these are the panelists that are going to be bringing their expertise of their experience going through either an MBA or a part-time MBA program, and what their tips for success were in terms of balancing intensive career development, career growth, as well as managing an intensive program, and how they made space to do all this at the same time. So an MBA is an investment in yourself. So a lot of you are coming to this event because you're thinking about doing an MBA, but you're wondering to yourself, do I have the time to do this? I have a really intensive job. I'm very busy already. You may or may not have family obligations, managing young children, and you're wondering to yourself, like, how am I going to make this work? Like this could be an important investment you make in your career journey, but how are you going to kind of create the space to grow your potential? And that's a lot of what we're going to discuss when we get into the panel session, is actually making that intentional step to create that space to grow your potential. So talking to the panelists tonight about what they did and what their tips for success are, and what the results have been in terms of their career growth, while still managing growing families and still having a healthy, productive, and happy life at the same time. So that's going to be one of the main topics of discussion during the panel session. And if you have your own questions surrounding these, these unknowns about starting a program of this caliber and how you're going to balance everything, then feel free to queue up some questions in your mind. Ask those questions that you've always wanted to ask about how people manage this, because it is doable. It's intensive, but it's definitely doable, and people have experienced tremendous career growth while they have been doing this program. So that's going to be one of the topics that we discussed tonight. So think of questions you might have to pose to our panelists about, how they made it work, and try to find those inspiration that you have to make this step for yourself, to create this own space in your own busy lives, to take this step and grow your own potential. So why would you select a UBC professional MBA? So a lot of the presentation I'm going to do here centers around the professional MBA program, which is our part-time MBA program. So this is a program where you can continue working while you do the MBA. It is a 24-month program, so it is designed to be fully consistent with a full-time work schedule, and the classes are on the weekends only. So there's a number of key factors that are central to this program. We have professional residencies in the beginning, and middle, and end of the program. These are intensive learning periods where students kind of get a full-time dive in the context of a part-time program. We also have extensive study abroad opportunities. Like if you are very busy and you don't see yourself being able to go abroad, there's also online opportunities for you to learn at our prestigious international partners as well. And then there's also, of course, the third cornerstone of this program, which is personalized career development, because obviously a lot of you are considering the program with certain career goals in mind. So personalized career development is a fundamental part of what makes this program valuable for many people considering it right now, and as well to our alumni that are going to be talking about their experiences as well. So we know you have a lot of options when you're considering, part-time MBA programs. And I think one of the big benefits of considering a UBC program is that it is a program with a tremendous local reputation, but it also has a tremendous global reputation as well. So these are some of the rankings of the UBC program. So it's ranked, #1 business program in Canada by the Maclean's rankings. We are also ranked #1. The Sauder School is ranked #1 in Canada for business and economics. And we do have 43,000 Sauder alumni in 80 countries around the world. So that's just the Sauder alumni network. That doesn't include the larger UBC alumni network, which is alumni network of 300,000 alumni in 140 countries around the world. So not only are you joining like a top business school when you join the UBC program, but you're also joining like a thought leadership community in joining UBC. It's one of the top 40 universities in the world. So in classes like our tech entrepreneurship class, where it's like half like MBA students and half students from like Masters of Engineering, Masters of Computer Science, Health Sciences, you're also joining a community of innovative thinkers and researchers and thought leaders that you can collaborate with and create new opportunities and value added to your businesses, to your community, to the world. So that's a very exciting community to join. It's a degree that's recognized all over the world. So wherever your career takes you or however it grows, you have a very good chance that of having your degree recognized in all corners of the world with the UBC program. So how the program works is that it's usually do 2 classes and it's only on Saturday, Sunday. So the classes only happen on the weekends. So like I said, it's fully consistent with a full-time work schedule. So usually do 2 classes on an 8-week cycle. So you can see here, module 1 would be 1 class, module B would be another class, and then you get a break in between. So it's kind of like a 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off for the first 6 weeks. And then you get 2 weeks break. And then on the 8th week, you'll be doing the online assessments for those 2 classes. And so it's online, it's your exams are basically proctored online. So for those of you that have extensive travel or you like just want the break from having to come on into campus, like for exams, we've made the exams online so that they can be proctored online. It is a global program with a number of different international opportunities if you have the opportunity to go abroad. These opportunities include an extensive study abroad program with 36 exchange partners all around the world. And then we also are the only Canadian member of a network called the Global Network of Advanced Management. Now, this is a network spearheaded by the Yale School of Management, and it includes 30 top business schools from all regions of the world, including institutions like Berkeley, Yale, of course, HKUST, HSA, Oxford. And they allow our students to do these kind of global immersive network weeks at these institutions. Or again, like I mentioned earlier, these small network online courses. So if you didn't have the opportunity to like go abroad, then you can actually do these courses with these institutions, online, and then have those credits credited back towards your MBA's elective credits. So it's a unique way to get some global perspective in your learnings and expanding your educational and professional network, whether it's going abroad or staying home and doing these courses online as well. These are some examples of past network themes that we had. So you can see that these institutions often offer network weeks that are they've got a regional or institutional bent to them. So you can see Berkeley ran a network week on Bay Area innovation and entrepreneurship. Yale ran one on the behavioral science of management, and UBC ran its own network week on sustainable development goals. Now, again, we also have our traditional study abroad. So this would be the kind of programs that most of you would be familiar with from your undergrad, where you actually go abroad for a certain amount of time. So 36 exchange partners on 6 continents around the world. Copenhagen Business School would be one example. Isaak in Paris is another popular choice. So basically these, knowing that you're part-time students and you have a full-time career, these study abroad segments can be as long as a few months long, like your traditional like semester long kind of study abroad segments, or they could be as short as a couple of weeks. So there are shorter options as well for those of you that have a little bit less flexibility in terms of how often you can go abroad. Experiential learning is a cornerstone of this program. So we are a very academically rigorous program. So we teach you everything you need to know to move your career ahead in terms of like business skills, foundational business skills. But we also have a very strong focus on experiential learning. So this is the idea of learning by doing. And we do this through a number of things. Key to this part-time program would be the professional residencies and like a very strong focus on case-based learning, but also as just a very organic result of the structure of this program and how it happens on the weekends and how you're working at the same time. A lot of this kind of experiential learning happens in your own workplace. So, you know, you go to the classes on the weekends, and maybe you had a couple of work problems on your mind and you're wondering how to figure it out. You can bounce ideas off your professors. They are the leaders in the business community. Some of them are drawn from industry themselves, and some of them are, academic researchers in the business world that are the leading researchers in their field. So it's a field of expertise, both applied and academic, that is really unparalleled in what you have access to on these weekends. So you can bounce these ideas off of your professors, but also you can bounce these ideas off of your classmates themselves. They are exceptional professionals drawn from all industries, in the Lower Mainland and even abroad. When it come Monday morning, when you're back in classes, you have all these different ideas that you can apply as value added that you didn't have before, right? Like you were kind of in your network by yourself before, but joining a program of this caliber gives you a much broader network, not only in the types of professors that we expose you to, both in terms of academia, but also in terms of industry leaders, but also in terms of your classmates themselves and what they can offer you in terms of ideas. Like you might be an accountant who thinks very differently from someone that works in marketing. And maybe your problem that you were working on needed someone with a different type of thinking to help you solve that problem or bring greater value added. So like, that's really exciting. That's a really exciting part of the experiential learning process of this PMBA program that students find really rewarding. And it also has this added benefit of helping students basically prove themselves ready for that next move in their career in a very organic fashion, but then basically prove themselves to their own companies that they're ready to take the next step in the value added that they're already bringing to the company. So you're proving yourself ready for the next step in your career in a very organic fashion through this PMBA program without having to leave a full-time job to study. Now, this is what the program journey looks like. This is the first year of the program. So you can see the professional residency. So these are 3 8-day intensive learning periods where you are expected to be kind of learning full-time in the program, in the kind of first January of the program, the second January of the program, and the last December of the program. So these are 8-day residencies. They are intensive and they serve a number of purposes. Number one being that, it gives you a full-time dive in the context of a part-time program. And so that's pedagogically useful, but it's also useful in bringing that PMBA cohort together and helping you guys build these relationships that will help guide you through, the academic, academic kind of challenges and learnings that you're going to go through the program, as well as being each other's best source of social and career advice as well. And these types of relationships, both academically, socially, and professionally, are tremendously useful for students throughout the course of their 24-month journey. So bringing students together in these intensive formats in the beginning, middle, and end of the program is very useful to help facilitate this relationship building that's going to help you through the program, but also for the rest of your career. Now, you see, the first year of the program is primarily focused on the foundations of business management, including accounting, statistics, finance, marketing. And then the second part of the program, you'll be on to some more advanced modules. Now, in the second year of the program, this is when you can actually start swapping out some of these advanced module courses for elective courses with our full-time MBA program. 1/3 of your degree can also be done outside of the Sauder Business School. So if there was a course with the Faculty of Law, for example, that it really fits the value proposition of what this program can do for you, as long as you get the permission of your academic director, as well as from that course instructor, you can take that course and have that credited back towards your MBA. So more flexibility in the second year of the program. The only limitation in terms of what courses you can swap is your own schedule itself. So some of the full-time MBA courses will be held during the day. So some of those courses might not be available to everyone, but unless you had like if your employer was very flexible and they're like, yeah, you know, for 5 weeks, you can go off to take this really special course from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. like on a Tuesday, Thursday, like it's kind of like that. The swap will look like on a daytime course. So it's still possible, but it would be limited only by your own schedule. And then some of our more popular courses, like our tech entrepreneurship course, like I mentioned earlier, that those courses are typically scheduled in the evenings to give a better access to students in our part-time programs. You can see also in the second year of the program is when the international programming will start. So you can, in the second year of the program, start doing some of those small online network courses with a GNOM network. Study abroad can also happen during the summer period. And you can see also career and professional development is a fundamental part of the program that runs throughout the course of your program and actually is a support network that's available to you for the rest of your career. So that is a huge value added that I think you know, the tuition really doesn't even encompass, because that's lifetime support that you get from the Sauder Business Network. So in 10 years time, if you needed to connect with a Sauder Business Network, you know, like in London or Shanghai, you can come back to the Sauder, to the Business Career Center and ask for those connections and ask for guidance. And that's a support that we still offer to you for the rest of your career. So that is something that's, I think, innumerably valuable, you know, offshoot of doing this PMBA program. So like I said, personal career coaching is a fundamental part of this program. So we look at you as an individual. Our career coaches, Maria is here as well. So do take the opportunity to say hi and pose any questions you have about the career side. And also, of course, Martina is here as well. And she's the assistant dean of the Business Career Center, so she can offer some more insights that way. But it is a fundamental part of the program. We look at you as an individual and who you are and what you want to get out of a PMA experience and what your career journey looks like. So what are your career goals, short and long term, and who we can connect you to in terms of helping you understand, you know, maybe you're interested in a certain industry, but you're not really sure like if it's the right fit for you. This is a really valuable tool that you have from the Business Career Center in that they can connect you to mentors. They have a lot of years of experience and knowledge of different companies. So doing a PMBA is not only an opportunity for you to excel your career, but also to make the right decision in what the next step can look like. Because as we all know, like we might have a dream about a certain company, but it might not necessarily be the right fit, right? So it's this kind of insider knowledge that you can get from doing the PMBA program as part of the services of the Business Career Center, that you can explore these ideas in a very safe environment and make the right next step for yourself. So in terms of career outcomes, 90% of our students will have at least one career change or advancement during the 24 months of the program. So there's that organic career change I was talking about earlier. And our career changes or outcomes typically fall in two broad categories. One would be the career changers, and then one would be the career promoters. And you would probably see yourself in one of these two categories, or maybe you see yourself as possibly looking at both in the future. So career changers are people that have changed both industry and job types, like total, like dramatic kind of shifts. So you can see someone who was a program manager at an e-commerce service provider became a senior associate at a venture capital firm in a financial firm afterwards. Someone who was junior project engineer at an engineering firm became an associate at McKinsey, which is it's a top tier management consulting firm post-program. Now, career promoters might also be a category that you see yourself in. So these are people that are maybe working at a firm that they can see growth in, and they need the PMBA to kind of give them the skills to kind of move to the next step, usually into management and leadership track roles. So you can see here someone who was a logistics manager at BC Ferries became a regional manager of terminal operations. Someone who was a senior purchasing manager at Aritzia became a director of global procurement. Someone who was account manager at RBC became a VP of corporate client group. So you can see a clear shift in all these different job types from more operational roles to more strategy leadership track roles, if not into the leadership roles already. So that's some of the broad career changes that our MBA program has facilitated for our students. What the profile looks like. So this is the entry class of January 2021. So we had to cap the program at about like 54, 55 students. And so it is a competitive program to get into. We end up with quite a wait list. So my advice to any of you considering the programs to try to apply early if possible. So average years of work experience is 7. There's an age range, 28 to 43 was this year's entry class kind of range. And then median age was 31. Now, keep in mind, we're not looking for a specific age range or years of experience necessarily. If you are if you're ready for this program, you're ready to benefit from this program, and you give us compelling reason to believe that this program will benefit you tremendously, then you're right for the program. So it's not really about like a number we're looking for. It's just readiness for the program and what you have planned. And basically what we look at is the same thing you should want to get out of a program. Is if we look at you and we think this person is ready to engage this program and they're going to be tremendously successful, that's the person that will get admission to the program. Undergraduate degrees, I also get this question a lot, is like, am I the right undergraduate major for the program? You can see that there's a gamut of different types of undergraduate degrees that our students come from. And so there's not really one right type of undergrad degree that you should come from. And then industry experience, you can see again, there's a gamut of different industry experiences. So there's not one right industry that you should come from. So I get this question surprisingly often, which is like, I'm not in a business related role, whatever that means, because business is related to everything, but they're not in a business, I guess they think accounting or finance role, I suppose. Like I'm not in a business type role, or I don't have a BCom degree. Is this degree, is an MBA right for me? And the answer is absolutely yes, from the evidence that you can see here. And I want to inspire you further with a few more, alumni profile, just to show you where people are coming from. And you're going to hear from our live alumni later on in the panel, but these are just some examples of students that came from diverse backgrounds and ended up like really succeeding in their careers thanks to the PMBA program. So you can see we have, Jiamei, who, did Bachelor's of Applied Science and Mechanical Engineering degree, and then our MBA program. And then, kind of moved, in kind of like these operations and roles, and then moved into some more strategy leadership roles, where she is now working as an associate partner at McKinsey & Company. You can see Katerina Papadakos. She was, she did a Bachelor of Arts degree. And, with her MBA program, she was able to transition her career from kind of working in the tourism industry initially. So you can see she worked in the 2010 Olympics, and then she managed to land a job at Trade and Investment British Columbia, but then actually used the degree as a platform to move into the finance industry. So this is someone that did arts. And when I talked to Katerina, she said she never saw herself working in finance, but it was the right fit for her. She had the type of skills that, like, as an arts major, that was really valuable in a field that was basically full of finance majors. So it was a value added that she brought that was unique to her, that, like, if you see yourself as this type of person, like, don't let your own ideas of what you should be doing limit you sometimes, because it's an extraordinary story and she didn't see it herself. So, she did her MBA and now is working as, after a couple of director roles, one with BMO, another one with Espresso Capital, she is now working for Silicon Valley Bank as a director of technology banking. Allison is a science major, so she did a Bachelor of Science and then she did her MBA, and you can see that she moved from like a, from in a role with a, very health-based organization as a manager, and then moved into kind of like policy and planning roles with the BC Utilities Commission, and then now is working with Central One Credit Union as a senior manager of regulatory affairs. So this is someone that also, started a great career path, kind of using her own background in the sciences to launch her career, but ended up, pivoting quite dramatically with the MBA into some like fields that, you don't usually find like healthcare people in, because the MBA prepared her to kind of take on these types of roles. And Alicia was also another arts grads. I like using arts grads because, like, I find like a lot of students that don't come from business backgrounds often feel they feel like it's not the right fit. So I'm just using these stories to kind of inspire you. So she did a Bachelor of Arts, in Communication and English from SFU. And, prior to the program, she was doing really well. She was working, as a change management analyst at UBC. And then shortly after starting the program, got into a role with Lululemon. as a change analyst, and now is working as a manager with Deloitte, so in a consulting firm. So, you know, like the program can really make dramatic changes for you. And I hope some of these stories have inspired you out there that always wondered whether I was the right fit for the program, because I feel like for a lot of these stories, the students did like even more than they anticipated, you know, because it helped them define and model what they didn't think was possible initially. In terms of admission requirements for the program, we are looking at a GPA of about B+, so that'll be a 76% on a 100-point scale. A GMAT of 650 or GRE 320 would be considered a competitive average. Minimum would be 550 or GRE 300. Now, there are possibilities for GMAT GRE waivers. If you have questions about that, you can feel free to, you know, add a question on the Q&A. We'd be more than happy to answer. And then we'll also be sending a follow-up email after this event. So if you have questions about like the waiver process, is basically for people from like BCom backgrounds with strong grade performance, as well as people from highly quantitative backgrounds, also again with strong grade performance. Minimum years of work experience is 2 years. You know, the program has become quite a bit more senior over the years. So if you are at 2 years, it's rare that we get someone with just 2 years of work experience getting into the program. But if you are at that point, just feel free to schedule an appointment with us, and we'd be more than happy to look at what your background looks like and see if you are on the younger end of the spectrum, whether it's the right fit for you right now. There's a minimum of 2 professional references. So ideally one from someone you report directly to, and then another one could be someone that knows you well in professional context. And there's a variety of small written and video essays. So the video essay is just a 90-second video that, you know, you prepare in advance and upload to YouTube and send us the link. We know you're busy, so like just good content is what we're looking for. So don't be too generic. Really think about what this program means for you and what your plans are when you're approaching the video. English proficiency test is only required if you didn't do a first degree in English, so a degree, so it could be your bachelor's or a master's degree. And then a personal interview, which is conducted right now by video, is the last stage of the process, and that's about 30 to 45 minute admissions interview. Deadlines, we do have our first round scholarship deadline coming, early entrance scholarship deadline coming up. So what that means is that if you apply by the May 25th deadline and you get into the program, you would automatically get $1,500 off of your tuition. So that's just an early application incentive. We do have a small number of merit-based scholarships. And if you apply by July 20th, you would be eligible for that. So if you apply by May 25th, you would get the early scholarship incentive, which is the $1,500, and you'd also be considered for the merit scholarships. If you apply by the second round deadline, you would be considered also for the merits, just for the merit scholarships. So hopefully that's clear. Final round is October 5th, although we highly recommend you try to apply by the first 2 deadlines just because of demand for this program. Program fees, I often get a lot of questions about this because if you look at like top tier programs in Canada for an MBA, people are like, is that half price for like the Canadian or domestic fee? That is actually the full program fee. And the reason why it's like, you know, half of what like some of our competitors are charging is because of the provincial revenue cap in British Columbia. So you are actually, you know, benefiting from a highly subsidized tuition, not to take away from the fact that $50,000 is still a lot of money, but it is better than $100,000. So this fee is divided into 6 installments paid over the course of 2 years. So hopefully a little bit more manageable. So if there's next steps would be get in contact with us if you have any questions. That's my email there. And we also have a BCC event, BCC focus, so career outcomes focused event coming up on June 22nd. So definitely watch out for the sign up link for that. And with that, I'm going to skip questions for now so we can start the panel discussion. But we will have a general question period at the end of this, at the end of the panel session. So I would like to invite our panelists to please turn on their video feeds so we can start our panel discussion. So we have Mercedes, Tamara, and Nadia, and Martina. Great, thank you everyone. So thank you for joining us today and for making the time to share your experiences. You all have different experiences and different routes that you've taken with the PMBA and your work life and home balance journey. So we'd love to hear your tips for making this success happen. So before we start, why don't we just go for a round of introductions? Tell us about yourself, when you're doing the MBA, or when you graduated, or when you're graduating, and what you were doing before the PMBA, and what you're doing now, if there's been any change. Tamara, you want to start?
I was trying to remember all the things I'm supposed to say.
Oh, it's fine. Just like ad lib. I'm sure it'll come out well.
My name is Tamara Isaak. I graduated, or I will be graduating from the PMBA program in a few weeks. I finished my last course a month ago, and so I'm very happy. Before I entered the PMBA program, I was a controller at Easter Seals, BC Yukon. And now, after a few changes, now I'm the CFO of United Way Lower Mainland.
It's amazing. I always love watching people's career advancements, and you also had children while you're in the program as well.
A little bit while I was in the program. So I had 2 kids, and when I was considering an MBA, I was pregnant with my 3rd. So I had a baby in September, and then joined the residency in January, and was welcomed by, I think it was, and maybe Nadia has some feedback that's similar to this, but every single staff member at UBC pulled me aside to tell me how much they appreciated what I was doing with a young baby. And I was running out and feeding that baby, and then running back into classes. And that was from the AV coordinator to the dean. So it's just, everybody was so welcoming.
Yeah, that's amazing. And not to take away from the fact that it was an impressive feat too. So I think everyone's in awe when someone has a baby and brings them to residency 1. So it's not unwarranted. And Nadia, why don't you go next? Because you also, I believe, had a young infant during P1.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Nadia Bobrova. And by the way, how can I follow that? Yeah, I'm a current PMBA student. I'm graduating in 2022. And when I started the program, I actually had a 3-month-old. I believe my son is just 1 year older than Tamara, yours. He's also September. Yeah, everybody was very supportive with finding space to feed and accommodating all the different needs that I had. And anyways, before doing an MBA, I was managing inventory at Best Buy, and I just got back to work a couple of weeks ago. So I'm still managing inventory at Best Buy, but I can tell that with almost a title, almost the 3 letters, I am getting a lot of invitations for director type of roles where I am currently interviewing.
That's amazing. Yeah, so there's a considerable degree of market signaling that you do, both within your own company and to everybody else that might be interested in you out there. That happens when you pursue something like an MBA program. So that's super exciting to hear, Nadia. And then Mercedes, why don't you go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi, my name is Mercedes del Castillo. Like Tamara, I'm part of the 2021 cohort. We're graduating very, very soon, which is really exciting. So I started my MBA working at Nielsen. And while I was working at Nielsen, I was working in the analytics department of Nielsen. I was working with clients like Kicking Horse, Lavazza Coffee, Twinings Tea. And really interesting, halfway through my MBA, I got the biggest surprise, and I got to know that I was pregnant. So I was really excited. My husband was really excited as well, but I was terrified at the same time. I was like, how is it possible? My job was really demanding at the moment. I was doing a part-time MBA, and now I was pregnant. So I was like, there's no way I can do all of this. Can I finish my MBA? And well, fast forward to now, I finished my MBA. And then this week, I actually started work. I came back to work after 11 months of maternity leave. And now I'm working with one of Nielsen's biggest clients, Regular Meals, which is pretty exciting. And well, my baby girl is almost a year old. And funny enough, her first birthday is the same day as my graduation. So we're celebrating both milestones, which is pretty funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing, and like, congrats, Mercedes. It's a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Martina, last but not least.
Absolutely. And nice to see some familiar faces. Tamara, I think since we last done the event for PMBAs, you had a couple of promotions since then. So it's very lovely to see. So for everyone, Martina, I am the assistant dean of the Business Career Center. I did my MBA at Sauder 10 years ago. I cannot believe 10-year anniversary of our graduation this year. Who would have thought we were going to do it during the pandemic? And you know, I actually, no children on my side. I decided to actually be the best auntie and help my classmates who had children, because I helped my family raise 3 of my younger siblings. And then I was actually a nanny for 3 years in England. So I think I've got a lot of experience with that. And actually I'm a favorite auntie to my best friend from the MBA program who's got twins. So the parents are very happy that I can take care of the kids over the weekend and they can get a break. And what I did actually before my MBA, I considered a PMBA, but I have to say that I did another master's degree, master's in economics, before I did my MBA, and I did that one part-time. And I think that was enough for a lifetime. So I just said, you know, I'm going to do my full-time MBA at UBC Sauder. And by the time I already had 11 years of leadership experience, so I was one of the older ones in the class, and never thought that MBA is going to change my life, and it did. I never thought I'm going to work in education. But I decided I wanted to have impact, and impact, you can have a huge impact in education. So that kind of changed the trajectory of my career. And I also consider myself a global citizen. So I've already worked my careers in Europe, Africa, now it's in North America. So we'll see where it's going to take me next. So fun times, fun times.
That's amazing. Thank you everyone for your introductions. And I'd also like to put it out there to the attendees. Think of questions that if you have for the panelists, you know, like things you've always wondered about or asked the tips for success, feel free to just pop those questions into either the chat or the Q&A, and then we would be happy to field your questions to the panelists. So to kind of start more of the conversation, can you tell us, like, what were your strategies for kind of making time for the MBA? Or like for Martina, it was a decision to kind of like actually just up and leave and do a full-time MBA. And then for Mercedes, Tamara, and Nadia, it's this decision that you need to make space and time in an already busy career to do the MBA. So like, what are the factors, like, and what are your tips for success when you engage in this type of decision?
I can start. So yes, as I said, like as soon as I got to know that I was pregnant, I felt that I needed to, like, I had to make sure I had my priorities clear, because I knew that I had to balance everything and like keep my health and being healthy for my baby while I was pregnant. So what I did is that I kind of like started pushing boundaries with my work. I was like, hey, is it okay if I work from home twice a week? And they actually allow me to work from home. That allowed me to like not have to commute, work a little more at work, take classes at night at the MBA, and just have like an easier like lifestyle. So I think it's just, you can play with things. Like when you think that things are just not gonna work, you can play with things. You can play with the schedule. Sauder was an amazing help. I remember meeting with Donna to kind of like plan my classes and make sure that everything made sense with my professional career and it wasn't too stressful. So you have the flexibility to work with Sauder, and then with your personal life to make it happen. And also I feel like people and champions in each like area of your life that are there for you and help there to guide you through all of these is important. At work, I had someone that supported me. At Sauder, I had someone who like supported me. And in my classroom, I had so many people that were there for me as well to navigate all of these. I don't think that I wouldn't like have done all of this without them.
It's incredible to hear this community of support you had when it's almost like you just got all these like uncles and aunties helping you and
Exactly
along the way, just like Martina. That's amazing. Who else would like to share about like kind of like how they made this happen and you know what they like, how they made the space to do the MBA? Yeah, Tamara.
So I can chime in, and I just loved, Mercedes, what you had to say about playing with different variables. When I entered the PMBA program, I wasn't sure that I would go back to work in it or not, or I just wasn't certain what that would look like or if it would be too much. And I did end up returning to work in April after I started in January. And in order to do that, I went back part-time, so 3 days a week. And we brought in extra help for the household. And that was a huge help because, you know, I have a lot of support from my partner, but he can't possibly do all of that. You know, there's just only so much you can do. There's no more to give sometimes when you're a parent and working and studying. So we were really intentional about bringing in just practical help for cleaning and cooking and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that from a number of students that have done the MBA, especially the part-time program, just because it becomes so hectic that hired help, like in certain aspects, is just like worth its weight in gold. So it might not be a luxury that you consider like if you're not doing an MBA, but when you are doing an MBA, like it could actually make that space you need to be able to pursue a program like this. So that's something I've heard from a number of people.
And I should chime in because it is an investment, a financial investment, but the return was worth it. So it worked out in the.
And this is coming from an accountant, so like she's done the ROI.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I think I followed Tamara's advice when I was in your guys' shoes. I came to this event, I saw her, Tamara, speaking and sharing her experience, and that was one of the takeaways for me and my partner. We also had to hire help, and we were burned a lot when COVID hit, and this help didn't come for 2 or 3 months. We were sitting without nanny, without food, so doing everything by ourselves. And I want to say that even that is doable. Even with kids at home, schools closed, childcare options, none, you still can do it. And the advice that I would give to kind of manage these situations is when you have big tasks, big assignments, don't approach them as big assignments. Just take small steps. Any big project can be divided into small things, and don't have this expectations of yourself that you're going to finish the whole assignment tonight. No, you're going to do whatever you can, and just congratulate yourself with that, celebrate that, and that's going to give you more motivation and strength to continue to move on. We managed through pandemic, through quarantine, through lockdown, with 2 kids at home, a home education for them, little one crying, and him working full time and studying. He's also studying, and me studying part-time. It is doable, definitely.
That's amazing. I just forgot about the whole fact that for a while there was like no help, which, yeah, that's amazing that you got through that. And I was watching your post, Nadia, about you like participating in Genome. I wasn't even thinking of, you had such a serene look on the photo that I didn't realize you had 2 babies crying in the background and no childcare and support. So it's amazing to, and the idea of breaking down big tasks into small ones so you can kind of digest them better is a really good tip to kind of help you deal with any kind of big decisions or projects that you're dealing with. So that's excellent. Thank you so much, Nadia. Martina.
Yeah, just to add to all of that, I think that one of the biggest things from the MBA is the friends that you're going to make. You're not going to be probably the best friends with the entire class, but there are going to be a number of people that you can really relate to and that are going to have similar problems, whether it's a child or a sick parent or problems in a family. And, if you have this community of really 5, 6 good people around you that help you normalize things around yourself, and maybe are going through the same issues, they can really help you kind of like get through it, right? So I think that that's one of the best things that you get out of the MBA, whether it's full-time, part-time, international, is that you're going to basically carry these relationships probably for the rest of your life, and these people are going to be part of your life, and they've helped you, to get through that, and then you are like, oh, we made it, right? We made it together. So I think that that's a big part of that, because every one of us goes through certain life journeys and issues, and those people around who are going through the same intensity of the education and are experiencing different issues can be really kind of the normalizing factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point as well. And just like with these programs, it seems to redefine what you think you can do. Like before the program, you thought you can do this much. And then after, you realize you could do this much. And that was always something that I thought was incredible to see, beyond the fact that sometimes people got like promotions and job advancements beyond what they expected. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about like what the program changed for you in terms of what you thought you were going to do, and like what you thought was your limit, and like what you feel like you can do now. Like I think that's a really interesting discussion, because I think sometimes when people are thinking of doing an MBA, they limit themselves because they don't feel like something they can do. And then it really seems to redefine the parameters. Doing a program like this redefines the parameter of what you realize you can do in the end. So anyone can start. I know you've all done something like this.
Yeah, I can start. Well, for me, I kind of got pregnant with the idea to do an MBA when I got pregnant. I was like, oh my God, I'm going on mat leave. What am I gonna do? Oh, an MBA, good idea. So I want to say that when I started the program, my plan was to get back to work where I work, nothing extra, just the program, kids, MBA. And what happened with me when I got back to work is, oh my God, I'm bored. I can't do this. I actually can do more. So I started reaching out to companies, and some companies reached out to me, and I'm actively interviewing. I'm looking for ways to do more, to contribute on a higher level. And I actually feel that I am capable of it, versus before that, I strictly limited myself to program's going to end, and that's when I'm going to pursue other opportunities.
Thanks, Nadia.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I do feel that we become so much efficient. It's impressive how the MBA changes you that way. And like I was actually having that conversation with my boss. I'm like, now every time that someone asks me, can you manage stress? Can you manage multitasking? My response, yes, of course. Like I did an MBA, I worked full time, and I had a baby. I can totally manage stress. I can totally manage multitasking. And those are the skills that people are looking right now. And I feel like all of us that have that now that we maybe didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I'm in line with Nadia in a lot of things, that I came to do my full-time MBA thinking, oh, I'm going to get a break. I'm going to have some fun. I'm not going to have a career. I'm not going to have all these family things that I have to take care of. And I was a little bit kind of like, well, wait a minute, this is too little. So in the end, I ended up, serving on the executive of our class. I became the president of the class. I worked part-time throughout the entire program, which is great to have some extra pocket money, when you do that. And then also I got very involved in one of the leaders of the Sauder Africa initiative. So I actually, active fundraising, and went and spent over 2 months there. I did my internship actually there as a part of the full-time MBA. And honestly, I was a discoverer. I had, I didn't know what I didn't know when I started my MBA, and it opened a whole door of possibilities that I didn't even consider before. As I said, like I never ever thought I'm going to end up in education. I mean, my primary thought was I'll go back to Africa, I'll work on some big projects, or I'll go and do my business somewhere. And I did not decide of what I want to do literally till the last day of the program, when I had this aha moment that probably happens once in 10 years maybe. And the former dean was asking me, well, Martina, what are you going to do? Like, you know, you were involved in all of these things and, you know, we still don't know. And I had a breakthrough right then. And I said, oh, I want your job. And he was like, no, don't do it. It's stupid. It's, you know, and I was like, no, it would be really cool to work in education and have this aspiration to be a dean. Now that I know more closely what it means to be a dean, I'm not sure that I would want to do it anymore, but it really opened a lot of possibilities that I didn't even know that existed. And if I can give anybody an advice, and I don't know, I would, you know, whether you three, how much you leverage Maria, but I was one of those really silly students who didn't leverage the Career Center as much. And now karma came to haunt me and I'm leading it. And I'm like, damn it. I had so many resources that I could have used and the decision could have been easier. And Maria has got so much good feedback. So I wish I used the Career Center a little bit more during my journey. I have to say that. And I'm not just saying it because I ran it, but I'm saying it because when I see the resources that are available to the students and how we are basically envy of every other faculty on, you know, UBC campus, and also because I work with a lot of my peers in other schools and universities. And when I tell them what we do, they're like, what? Like, Martina, like how did you get the support for the students? So that would be a piece of advice for sure. Leverage everything that there is because it's going to make your life easier.
Yeah, that's an amazing piece of advice. I'm surprised, Martina, that you didn't use the Business Career Center. This is like a really weird full circle story and now you lead it, but absolutely leverage the resources of the Business Career Center. They are an invaluable resource, like just being able to tell you about industries and what the job is really like and making those decisions and seeing if it fits your personality, like that makes a big difference. Like that's stuff you can't really learn anywhere else if you didn't have that kind of expertise. Tamara, I know that you used like the services of the Business Career Center for a lot of, because you had like quite a few changes when you were going through the program. And I would love for you to share with our audience what that looked like for you.
Yes, I engaged very early with one of the coaches. It's Maria's peer, Wendy Mann, and she was kind of pivotal in helping me negotiate employment contracts as I was returning to work and finding the right balance for myself and for my family. And some of the things, there's so many things that expanded my mind when I was in the PMBA. And some of those aha moments were with Wendy, because I remember one thing, you know,
I think Tamara might have frozen. Oh, I was like looking forward to hearing the rest of the story. Okay, we'll just give Tamara a couple minutes to come back. Maybe we'll move on to like Nadia or Mercedes. Like, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences connecting with the BCC and how they helped you kind of navigate your path so far?
Yeah, so actually the Career Center was one of those unexpected things in my MBA, because what I thought, like some of the things that they do is help you with your career opportunities, salary negotiation. So during the first year, I was going through a really toxic environment at my workplace. And the Career Center actually helped me to navigate for that. We did a lot of work on emotional intelligence, something that I personally had to work really hard, knowing more about like my strength, my weakness in terms of emotional intelligence. So that's something that I feel super thankful for. Maria helped me on that. And it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot in my career. And right now it's helping me a lot.
That's amazing. Tamara, I saw you just came back. We were like just about to hear your story and then you froze.
That's something that doesn't happen when you're in person.
I know, it always happens at the most inopportune time, as we've now figured out. But perhaps you can continue telling us a little bit about your journey. You said you worked with Wendy and you said you had a lot of those aha moments when you were actually working with Wendy in terms of how your career was going.
Yes. So, you know, there's some just things you don't realize that you believe that aren't true. And so with Wendy, I can't remember, it was one thing with my employer, and they were talking to me about something. And in my mind, they were talking to me about that because I thought, oh, they must need to restructure. You know, I've just had a baby. I get it, you know, whatever. And that's like a really dangerous assumption to make. And Wendy was like, no, that is something they do when they want you. They want you back. You need to come from a position in a strong bargaining position, because these actions are saying that they want to draw you back in. And I was like, oh my, like, it just was surprising how opposite how I viewed that situation. And there was many of those moments with Wendy. She does an emotional intelligence testing and a little bit of that I just opened my eyes to seeing things differently. And then I'll say, though, there was so many aha moments that in the classes, in the different classes, learning about marketing, learning about strategy. I can think of a group project I was on with Mercedes, where we were doing coffee, studying the economics of coffee. And, you know, her perspective working at Nielsen really expanded my mind too. And you learn from each other. And I think regardless of what now I believe is possible, and that's a really good thing for myself and my career, I think actually it's most impactful to me personally. That my mind's been opened, and I think the world is bigger to me now.
Yeah, and for that project, I remember I worked with Tamara and with Annie, and they're both CPA, so they're accountants with like really heavy like number backgrounds, and that's completely the opposite of what I do. I know a lot about the coffee industry, and I knew so much about it, but just like having them with this new perspective, which is like, yeah, it was one of the greatest projects I had for sure.
That's amazing.
We got a really good grade.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That speaks to that kind of multifaceted kind of interaction you get with like different members of different industries, and how that adds value, not only to maybe like your own job or your own connections, but also to your way of looking at things. And both you and Mercedes, like Tamara, you and Mercedes both actually spoke about like the emotional intelligence testing and how that helped you navigate certain situations, and just that expertise to know like whether something is a restructuring or literally the opposite thing. That's something like you would kind of be in the blind with, like if you didn't have these coaches that actually recognize the signs of what this was. Like I certainly wouldn't. Most people without this type of guidance certainly wouldn't have seen that. So that was really fortuitous. You didn't approach it as a restructuring rather than like an opportunity, which of course it turned out to be.
I would like to add one piece to Career Center help that I got during the last couple of months. It actually helped me build the confidence in myself, because I come from a different country, and I do face challenges finding work with being a woman, having kids, having those multiple obligations. And I had a lot of assumptions about Canadian culture, about the way they see me, the way they think about me. And what Career Center has done for me is kind of removing these barriers, making me aware of my, it's just my thing. It's just how I think they think. It's not true necessarily. So that helped me a lot to build confidence and to present myself in another way to potential employers and to myself personally. I feel that right now I have a more opportunities to make this educated choice with the work I do.
That's amazing. It's really good to hear that. I mean, Mercedes, Tamara, and Nadia, like I'd love to hear more about your experiences of, like how the program and how its support system help you navigate some, maybe even your own conceptions of, motherhood and career growth and that in career ambitions. So Nadia, you kind of touched on it. Mercedes and Tamara, or Nadia, if you want to add more, like I'd love to hear a little bit more about like what this means in terms of doing like an MBA and growing your career while you also grow your family.
Yeah, I'd say so. One practical thing is delegate whatever is possible to delegate, and don't be afraid of it. Me and my partner, we are leveraging that to the maximum. Like I brought in my mom, and then I brought in the nanny. I brought in some help with cooking and cleaning and all these things. It is costly, and sometimes it is like not really what we can afford, but we know that we are heading somewhere with that, and we're getting this time to play with kids after all, because at the end of the day, they don't want you, like after coming from work and school, they don't want you to be cleaning and washing dishes. They want to play with you and engage with you, and that's what we are trying to do. And also in my experience doing an MBA, it's a lot of planning in advance. Like we have a schedule, who is with kids, when, what times, and it's all like quality time with kids. We try to set aside some time to spend time together as a family as well, but most of the days it's either of us spending time with kids, and the other person is really using this time to study. Evenings, say, and as Mercedes mentioned, you become so efficient. You get only half an hour to complete the task, and you do it. You are able to complete it.
Wow. Tamara and Mercedes, anything to add to that? Like how the programs helped you kind of navigate, like, you know, career growth or career ambitions as, you know, as you grow your families and come in and out of mat leave, and how, you know, like just not just dealing with like actual growth sometimes, but just dealing with like the fear of how you're perceived, you know, as like as a mother also doing like an MBA at the same time.
Yes, you know, I think I maybe suffered a little bit at the beginning of feeling maybe sensitive of how people perceived me, because, you know, 3 children is a lot. You know, it's a lot to me, but also it's a lot to the world right now. Like when on average, people that are having, you know, 1 or 2 children, you know, I come from a big family and my husband works too, and we're balancing that. And what I've learned is that there are so many gifts that I'm given from being a parent, and from navigating, you know, watching little children develop and grow up and being a part of that. And it's a privilege. Some of the gifts that that has given me is patience. So when we're in the workplace and we're doing enormous change management, I can tell you not every day is rewarding. I don't feel great at the end of every day when things are difficult and it's a long-term view. But my patience that I've learned through parenting, I can apply it in these situations, and what it shows up in the workplace is as professional maturity. The other thing that being maybe a parent and, you know, going through this MBA process has given me is a deep understanding and empathy to other verticals in the workplace. So, you know, marketing is never going to speak the same to me as IT does. But now I have friendships and relationships with classmates that are in those verticals. I understand, you know, how they have been trained or how they approach a problem when we're working on a group project, and I can bring that into the workplace and share, and it shows up as professional maturity, like as well. So the MBA has helped me maybe find that confidence and that breadth. And I can say that, you know, in my present employer who I'm with, you know, they are inviting my experience. They want to know what it's like to be a mom in the workplace, because, you know, we're good leaders, you know, just like everyone else. And it's important that we're represented in the workplace. And so by them asking questions about what it's like to be, you know, a parent at a time during COVID and then going to work, they want me to share my voice, and it's actually quite a strength.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like raising 3 children and coming up with the patience to do that while still managing work is like tremendous experience that I think any company would be lucky to have. Like if you can manage all that, you know, still like see children as such a joy, like it's something incredible, really. So I'm really glad to hear that your employer really values that, because I think more employers should value that. It's incredible. Mercedes, did you have anything to add about that?
Yeah. So before I answer your question, Vivian, it's funny, Tamara, what you were saying about like your assumption on yourself when you started the MBA, because I feel that everybody in that class were like, Tamara is a superhero. Like, I don't know how she's doing this, but she has 3 kids and she started the MBA. So it goes back to the message of like what we believe we are and people think of us, and what actually people think of us. So yes, I feel like, to respond to your question, Vivian, one of the things that helped me the most was gaining confidence. And I think I agree with Nadia. I'm an immigrant as well. I came to Canada and I had a 2 years gap in my career where I was learning English, my accent, like there were so many insecurities during that gap. I was working at coffee shops. I worked as a nanny. I was just trying to go back to my professional career that I had built back home. I finally applied to Nielsen. It was a pretty tough interview process, and I finally got back kind of like in track. But the MBA, I feel it gave me that confidence that I needed to believe in myself in Canada, in a new place, and to be like, hey, like I have this talent. And I think it helped me because our class was really diverse, and it helped me to appreciate that even though we're all like really different, we all have our unique like strengths, and your classmates value your strength and you value theirs. So all that diversity in the classroom, the empathy that everybody had, was like, hey, like we're all different, we all have something unique, believe in your story and you will be fine. So it's pretty much that. Gaining confidence is a complete change in myself for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I love to hear these stories about gaining confidence and like learning from different backgrounds and how that improves you as an individual, but also like to see those things that you think might be holding you back, like being a mom or having these responsibilities, and actually seeing that as actually a benefit. Like it's this market signal actually that you're actually incredible. Like if you could be a parent and then also handle like job growth and an MBA, like what company wouldn't want you if you can handle all that? So I see that as really empowering to hear your stories of like how these things that you might have thought would have held you back, like as a market signal, are actually good things in the end. And Martina, I'd love to hear from you, because you've seen many women go through this journey. Some also had children, and what this program does in terms of confidence, in terms of helping students land jobs.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. 100%. And I just want to speak to a little bit of that immigrant issue, because I'm an immigrant myself, and, you know, I didn't know how my career is going to go. And I have to say that when I was leaving Slovakia, a lot of my friends were like, are you crazy? Why are you investing $40,000 or $50,000 to another degree? Isn't 2 degrees that you have already enough, right? So there was a lot of judgment, but I knew I just wanted to go and just try something different. I love living in different countries. And so, you know, and a lot of the times, and especially if there is an audience of people who are immigrants, it is true. I don't want to paint this picture of rainbows and unicorns, because it's not what it is. And, you know, when you come to a foreign country, and I've made that move already 4 times in my life, you've got to pay your dues, in a sense. I call it, you know, you've got to get your hands dirty. And sometimes, you know, I left an executive position and I started on a manager level when I came to Canada, right? But people often concentrate too much on what you can do in a year and forget about what you can and where you can be in 5 years. So I'd say that from that perspective, you know, your first job after your MBA is just your first job, right? If you are thinking of career changing, you know, you could see it on some of those examples of people that you provided, Vivian. But, you know, within 5 years of graduation, I was promoted to assistant dean, and I consider that pretty awesome, right? So, you know, it can be difficult from the beginning, but that's why you have those relationships, you have that network, you've got the people who support you and the community around you, and you can really grow, right? And MBA is just the first step. And I have to say, from a perspective, because I'm a total junkie around the future of work, and I read a ton of reports and, you know, what skills are going to be needed. And I just want to say to people, you know, MBA, you are not going to be done with just your MBA. Like when I read all of the reports in all of our jobs, we're going to be learning for about 3 months out of a year, all of the new things, of how the progress is being made. And I just wanted to use this quote that I don't think anybody else has summarized it better than Alvin Toffler. And he said, you know, the illiterate of 21st century is not going to be the person who can read and write. It's going to be a person who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's what's going to be the future, right? We're going to be constantly learning. So for all of those people, you know, that growth mindset, you're coming to an MBA, but you're going to be learning for the rest of your life. Like that's what's going to happen to all of us, right? So I just say, you know, don't concentrate too much, you know, where you're going to be, you know, what promotion you're going to get. You know, in 5 years, the MBA can really catapult you somewhere completely different. And that's pretty exciting, I think. So don't get hung up too much on, you know, on that first experience and that first job. So it can give you a tremendous growth, but I think it gives you that accelerated trajectory, right? You might have 2 jobs in between, but then, you know, within 5 years, you can be in a really, really amazing position and in an amazing job. And that's, you know, that's what the MBA actually as a part of growth can do.
That's amazing. Yeah, so this idea of like, I guess, creative destruction, like sometimes you go into a program and like it really challenges you. Like I'm sure like you guys are all amazing individuals. I'm sure you went into the program, there was like times when like it really challenged you, but in the end, it kind of expands like what you think you can do. And it's an impressive cycle to watch.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to ask was like this idea of signaling, which I hear from a lot of grads that I've talked to in the past about when you do an MBA, not only is it an investment in yourself, but it also is like this form of signaling. Like some students feel it more than others. Some feel like it was a really big impact in their growth. But I wanted to put it out there, like, you know, did the MBA, doing the MBA kind of create a bit of signaling for your employer or other employers to approach you, you know, like, and what was that experience for you?
I definitely noticed the signs of signaling kind of with enrolling in an MBA, and partly because of the timing. So I had just had, you know, my 3rd child, and people were interested in that. I was receiving an MBA. And I think it continued. So it signaled that I was serious about my career. And, you know, my employers responded by, you know, promotions and providing opportunities for me to grow. And it does continue in the community, and people reach out and they want to connect and learn more. It definitely sent some strong signals, and it helped me expand my professional network because of that signal. So that was really fun.
Was this something you expected at first, Tamara, or was it kind of one of those added surprises?
I think it was something I would have hoped to get out of the MBA when I enrolled. But I don't know that I thought it would be certain. And I didn't know what network would come with the UBC MBA. And I think it was a good network. So yeah, it was great. And I think I even expanded beyond, you know, the UBC MBA class. And then it somehow helps me expand into Vancouver, into our, you know, social impact network there as well.
It's amazing. Anybody else want to speak to this impact and potential signaling of doing an MBA and what it's done for you?
Yeah, so for me, doing an MBA definitely signals to my employer that I am very serious about my career, and I can sense that they are looking for ways to accommodate my my needs in terms of career growth. There are discussions going on, and also I did receive early feedback just when I got back to work from mat leave that they never saw anyone going that far, taking an MBA during their mat leave. And I was actually able to front load a lot of the courses because with COVID, everything went online, and I was able to participate in global network opportunities and take some extra courses. And I did use that to kind of front load and then relieve the stress when I go back to work. And I shared it with my employer, and that sent a strong signal that I am very serious about my career aspirations, and they have to respond to that and respect that.
That's amazing and very powerful. I mean, not everyone would choose to do the program like this when you have an infant on mat leave. So that is another signal to like your amazingness as an individual. So bravo to that. Anybody else want to speak to the impact of signaling, or we can like,
yeah,
Martina?
Just a little note in there that I think that if you work for a good leader and, you know, they will support you. I love when my team and, you know, in my 20-year career, when somebody says, I want to come and do a degree, I think that's a really good signal that you've got a growth mindset and you want to develop and grow. And a good leader will develop and grow you. Like if you're going to be looking for a person to work for, you want to look for that person. So from an employer perspective, you know, if you get a manager who is not supporting you on a learning journey, I'm going to be very blunt and say reconsider the manager, because it's, you know, a good leader should really, because I think that that's what the good leader does. That's our purpose, is to grow and develop people and create opportunities for them, because in your position, you should be surrounding yourself with people who are smart and wise and want to grow. And if you can't give them the opportunity to grow within your team because you don't have, for structural reasons, or they've reached a certain peak, help them to find something where they can thrive, you know, introduce them to people, you know, advocate for them, especially for women, right? I'm a big proponent of that, like be their champion, because, well, first of all, if you do that, that person can become a hiring manager for other people. That person can become your client. Their company can become your client. And that's a huge ripple effect that you can have. So I think that doing a degree and doing further education, in my mind, is always the most positive signal that you can get. And as a leader, you should support it. And I would assume that a lot of people who are in the audience and who want to do their MBA are going to be leaders. So think about it. And many of them already are, and just like our panelists. So you've got to do this. You've got to support your people in their growth.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Martina. Like that's a huge piece of advice. Like, you know, like a good leader will enable you to kind of grow like this. And it's like, it's also sending a signal from the employer to their employees that like, you know, that we support your growth and that we are a growth oriented organization. So that's super valuable. And so if you do come across these, you know, resistance to your growth, you got to question it, you know, and what are the steps then to kind of maybe move beyond that? Because then if they're not growth oriented, then what are they? And then, you know, invest in yourself and find, you know, your way through a roadblock if you are encountering resistance to your own growth. So we are coming to the end of our panel session. So, you know, like I'd just like to leave the panel with, if everyone can maybe share a piece of advice they might have to someone, like if you think back to when you were thinking of this decision and you had a piece of advice to give to those that are in the audience today, you know, considering the MBA decision, what would that piece of advice be?
I can start. When I was considering an MBA, it was a tough decision, obviously. And what helped me make it is that people usually regret not doing things. They rarely regret having done something. And not a second I regret my decision. This just helped me, you know, if I do it, who am I going to become? If I don't do it, I would never know what was there, right? So that's my advice.
It's amazing. Thank you, Nadia. Anybody else with some advice, last piece of advice? Mercedes?
Yeah, sure. So I initially thought that the MBA was like my own project, my own thing, and it was pretty much like it was me who was doing that. But then I realized that I wasn't alone in this journey, that there are so many people that were there to support me, like my husband, like the faculty, like Sauder, they were so helpful, and also your class. So if you feel that you're doing this alone, that is only you that is going through this challenge, it's not like that, because you have other 50 crazy people who decided to do this, who decided to have a work and balance work, family, and an MBA, and they actually support you throughout the entire journey. They were the biggest support. I still remember like going to class super pregnant, and people would give me like snacks, they would take me home. I remember one time there was like a big garbage beside me. So like 3 guys in my class moved it because I just couldn't handle the nauseous. So they were there for me. And yes, you're not doing alone. You're going to meet amazing, incredible people that are going to stay with you even after the MBA. You will connect with them and you will become friends and really close people.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Mercedes. I'm so glad to hear you felt so supported.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, just to plug the MBA program, like the faculty and the classes are so amazing, and they really do expand your breadth. And in the second year, there's a lot of optionality. So in the first year, it's relatively set, which is a nice way because all of your classmates are the same. Every weekend when you're in class, you really get to know each other and build relationships. And then in the second year, you can kind of explore whatever you're interested in. So I took a class on real estate economics and finance, venture capital finance. I took one, women in leadership at Berkeley. Some of the other fun ones, I took a marketing channel communication class with Mercedes. And that was really outside of my wheelhouse. And I just learned so much. So if you like to learn and grow and expand your mind, like, this is a wonderful opportunity to do it and carve out the time and enjoy the 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing advice. Martina.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of like my piece of advice, because all of what you said, all three of you, it's 100% true. I'm going to kind of spin it a little bit differently, because women, and especially women, we give, and give. There is a lot that we kind of share of ourselves. And I would say, just find, even if it's half an hour a day, even if it's 15-minute a day, something that re-energizes you, something that you want to just do for yourself. I don't care whether it's a 15-minute meditation or if it's 15 minutes of reading a book, but just do something that's only for you. Because when I read the stats that on average women only have, 40, up to 45 minutes a day for their own leisure time, like, that's brutal, right? So if you find something that really fills your bucket, because you only can give what you've got, and it is it's MBA is demanding, families are demanding, friends and all of that around us. So whatever it is that fills your bucket, like, make sure that 15 to 30 minutes a day, you're going to do that something for yourself to kind of keep going.
That's amazing advice, Martina. Like, yeah, you only have so much to give, right? So you need to refill your own stores in order to continue giving. So it is a big decision. I think the MBA could be a tremendous fit as like an investment in yourself. For those of you that have super busy families and you're considering whether you can make the time, I think our panelists have been a really good example of people that have made the time in their busy careers to make this investment in themselves in many different circumstances. And so hopefully you've been inspired by their stories. And I would like to thank everyone for Mercedes, Martina, Nadia, and Tamara for making the time for this event to have us be inspired by your stories and by your advice. And hopefully we will see each other soon. I'm gonna stick around for just a few more minutes to see if there's any questions coming in on the chat, or if anyone has any questions, you can put the raise hand feature. But if not, we will conclude this panel discussion. I think we've had a really good discussion because people have just been like eating it up. They don't have questions. So thank you again, everyone, for making the time for this evening's event and for sharing your stories. There will be a recording of this event sent to people that didn't have the chance to make it tonight, and hope to see everyone again soon.